4 financial lessons that 2020 has taught us. What's going on, guys? That's what we're gonna be talking about here in this video today. So the other day I was thinking, I'm like 2020, I was doing kind of like a year reflect type thing, and I was thinking, this has been quite a roller coaster for a lot of people for a lot of different reasons that we're just simply not gonna get into, all right? But I was thinking, I'm like, there has to be some sort of positives that have come out of this year in this situation for everyone involved. And so I decided to sit down, and this being a finance channel, I was like, there's definitely been some financial lessons that we've learned this year that's gonna help everyone, hopefully for the rest of your life for as far as the eye can see. And so I came up with 4 different lessons that I think that everyone's learned this year, and I think everyone can apply going into 2021, 2022, 2025, 2030, every year in the future. And I think these lessons are gonna be really helpful for you guys, and I think you guys are gonna get a lot of value out of these lessons. So I really hope you guys do enjoy this video. If you do, make sure you drop a like on the video. That really does help me out in a huge way. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well and turn on that notification bell if you want to see more videos like this pertaining to stock market news, personal finance, and really everything in between. So the first financial lesson that we've learned in 2020 is that you need to keep some cash around. Now keep in mind, I don't mean like physical cash that you keep under your mattress or anything like that. I mean money you have in, like, you know, checking accounts, savings accounts, those type of things, right guys? And obviously you guys know that me no me gusta cash, all right? I don't like cash. I don't like to keep cash around. And why is that? Because cash gets devalued. You know, cash is not going to make you money at the end of the day. If anything, that money that you're going to put in that savings account, that's going to cost you money at the end of the day because it's just not going to retain its value. It's just not. You can look it up. You can Google it, like the value of the dollar, like where does it go over the time? Over the time, as I've talked about in so many different videos, and if you guys have been a long subscriber to this channel and you still don't get this, then obviously I'm doing something wrong here as a content creator. But the value of the dollar goes down, 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 okay? It always goes down. It's not gonna go up. Inflation's just gonna take more and more of that. It's the bottom line. Cash is not gonna make you money if you keep it around. So I don't like to keep cash around, but obviously you need to keep cash around for a lot of different reasons. What happens if you lose your job? What happens if you lose your job? Then what happens? One of 2 things are most likely gonna happen. One, if you're an investor, which hopefully if you're watching this channel, you do have some sort of investments to some degree. But if you're an investor, you're gonna have to either 1, sell your assets, which you don't wanna do for a lot of different reasons because that's making you money. That money is turning your money into more money. And God forbid, if you're like down on a position, then you have to sell off and take it as a loss. That's not something you wanna do just to pay the bills, pay the mortgage, pay car insurance, whatever you wanna do. You don't wanna sell your asset because that's literally making you money. You don't want to do that. It's just another source of income. It's something you don't want to do. Now, let's assume that you aren't someone that invests in the stock market. You're not someone that invests in real estate. You're not someone that buys assets. And there's nothing wrong if you haven't done that yet. Maybe you're researching that. Maybe you're just trying to educate yourself on that. And those are all good things. But let's say you're not someone that's like that. Then where do you go from there? Like, where do you go? I drew 3 question marks right here because where do you go? Like, do you borrow money from friends? Do you take out some sort of loan? Like, what do you do? What do you do to get money if you lose your job and you don't have any cash lying around? What do you do? So, needless to say, you've probably heard this so many different times before, but what you want to do is you want to have 3 to 6 months of an emergency fund saved just in case anything goes wrong, like you lose your job or you're a little tight on cash, whatever it might be, you have that money saved for a rainy day. You don't touch it, you don't look at it, you don't invest it, you keep it around just in case, you know, a once in a 100-year event hits and you can't pay anything, all right? Believe me, you want to have some cash around. That's what most people tell you to say. Me personally, I like to keep 6 to 12 months of cash around. I like to keep that much around. I feel good by doing that. I sleep well at night knowing worst case scenario, everything can possibly go wrong. I don't have to touch any of my assets. I can just leave them right there. They'll continue to make me money and I can still make payments for another year, you know, if anything goes wrong, and I don't have to worry about it. I just feel better doing that myself, okay? But in addition, let's say you are a stock market investor, we'll say, and you put all your money into the stock market, okay? So you have $100,000, we'll say. You put every single penny into the stock market. That's not good. Now, why is that not good? 1, because of what we just talked about. Literally, if you don't understand that, then just go rewind it and watch the game because I just covered it, and that's very important. But secondly, if you don't have any cash around, you're not in a position of power, right? Like what I like to call pop. You're not a pop. You want to be in a pop. That's very good. Now, why do you want to be in this pop? Why do you want to be in a position of power? Well, look at where the markets were back in March and April, right? When everything was dipping and everything was going down. That whole time, I was buying like crazy. I was throwing all kinds of money into the stock market. I'm like, you know, a few $1,000s here, a few $1,000s there, $5,000 here. I was throwing all this money into the stock market, which made me a good amount of money, and I'm really happy. I was really happy looking back that I put all that money in there. But the thing is, If you don't have any cash around, then you're not in a position of power and you can't take advantage of any deals in the market. And this goes for other things too, whether you're flipping things or whether you're buying real estate or anything else, any other investments. If you don't have any cash around and you're not in a position of power, then you can't take advantage of these deals, and it's just going to be harder for you to turn that money into more money. Remember, the name of the game here is we want to buy assets at fair value or below value and have those assets make us money. If you don't have the cash around, you can't take advantage of those deals when you see them. The second financial lesson that 2020 has taught us, and me personally, is that I want to focus more on positives and things that are going to make me money. Now, when this pandemic first hit, we're going to take me for example, when the pandemic first hit, I'm always someone that's always been interested in personal finance and stocks and all those things. I've always enjoyed researching companies. I've always enjoyed looking into them. I have not always been buying into them, but I've always liked to research them and just kind of like get that human capital up and that knowledge growing, those type of things. But when the pandemic hit, I said to myself, I've never taken it to the next level, and meaning I've never actually decided to make a YouTube channel. I've always wanted to make a YouTube channel. I've always wanted to have a successful YouTube channel. I've always wanted to just talk about money, because obviously money is not something too many people want to talk about for a good reason. Some people it stress them out. Some people just don't like to disclose that information. Whatever the case may be, there's a lot of good reasons why people don't want to talk about money. Me, I would love to honestly be an accountant. I would love to run numbers. I'm a numbers guy. I could literally look at numbers and finances all day long, which I do a lot of the times on my days off, and I absolutely love it. But not everyone's like that, I get that. But anyway, what I'm trying to say here is I've never taken it to the next level. I've never taken that step. I've never gone outside my comfort zone and just decided to talk to a camera in my room by myself with no one else around. But I decided the time is now. If I want to do this, the time is now, because I've always made excuses. I've always said maybe when I get a little more time and I'm not working so much, or maybe when I'm done with school. But the bottom line is, when the pandemic hit and everything was shut down, everything was in lockdown, it came to the point where I'm like, all right, I can't see anyone. I can't go anywhere because everything's closed. You know, I'm working from home. I don't have to worry about driving to and from the office. Like, you know, I didn't have to worry about literally anything at all. So I said to myself, I'm like, if I'm ever going to do this, if I ever want to take that step, go outside my comfort zone and really, really give this a shot, the time is now, because I guarantee myself there's probably not going to be a more perfect time in my life, especially with such little responsibilities. Like, I don't think there would have been another great time than then to start this. And that's what I did. I decided to start this, and I'm very happy I did. A lot of positives have come out of it. I learned a lot about myself, about people, you know, around me. I've gotten a lot of support from people I never thought I would ever hear from again, and it's awesome to see. So all those things are great, and I'm very happy I started this. Now, if you're looking back at this and you're someone that wanted to start something and didn't, my question to you is, why not start now? Why not start now? There's no better time to start than right now. There's always going to be a better time. There's always going to be, you can always have more time. You can always have this set up. You can always have that set up. Why not start now? It's kind of like buying a new car. There's never a good time to buy a new car. You always wish you had another $5,000, $10,000 saved for buying a new car. You always wish you had a little bit more money to buy a new car. There's never a good time. But sometimes you just have to do it right now. You have to take that step and do what's best for you and give it a shot, because if you don't, you might always wonder what might have happened if you never gave it your full force and just tried. That's really the hope you guys take that to heart. You never ever know if you don't try. Now, if you are going to start something like this, maybe it's a YouTube channel, a blog, maybe you just want to pick up some sort of other job, or maybe some other sort of side hustle, whatever the case may be, my recommendation would be, and I've learned this and I think this is correct, start slow, okay? So, for example, again, we'll take me for example. You don't want to just start and go full force, because then you're going to burn yourself out and it's just not going to be that interesting. When I first started making YouTube videos, although I did have probably more time than most people when they first start, because, you know, I was in school, but I was working from home, there wasn't a lot going on, I didn't have all these distractions. So this was easy for me to make a priority, it really was. But the thing is, if I started trying to make a video every single day of the week, I probably would have gotten burnt out by the scripting, editing, filming, all that stuff. I think I would have just gotten burned out. So what I said to myself, I'm like, until I am done with school, if I can just work on making one video a week, just one video, I think I can really scale this and I can take this a lot more seriously when I'm done with school. And that's what I did, and I'm very happy I did it that way, because you guys have probably noticed there's been a very big uptick in the channel the last couple of months. That's because I'm done with school and I built this habit, and I plan on continuing to make videos, and I'm very excited to keep making videos. But like I just said, I think if I just jumped into it and started making 4 or 5 videos a week, I think I would have gotten burnt out and I would have quit. Because this is not my first time trying to start a YouTube channel, and in the past when I've tried to do stuff like this, I've just burnt myself out. I've gone way too all in, way too quick, and I've just wanted to quit. So take your time, start slow, see that little bit of growth bit by bit, brick by brick, and then when you really see some momentum coming and you really get interested in it, up it a little more, then maybe up it a little more, then a little bit more. Now, for example, this isn't obviously a financial example because this is a finance channel, but we're going to use this example anyway. Let's say you're someone that wants to start running, right? You want to be able to run 20 miles. So you come out and you start running, 15 miles a day to try to get to that 20-mile mark. Obviously, if you haven't run in however many years or you've never run at all, it's going to be hard for you to run 20 miles. You're probably going to throw up. You're going to get sick. You're never going to want to run again. You're going to hate it. But let's say instead you're like, all right, let's take a step back and let's go easy. So you start running 1 mile. You get 1 mile down. You get used to it. You improve that mile time. You run 2 miles. That gets easier. You run 3 miles. You start to build yourself up and you start hitting those checkpoints. First of all, you're going to have that internal, check mark, goal meter, whatever you want to call it. You're going to feel good about yourself because you're getting closer and closer to your goal and you're hitting those smaller goals. Second of all, it's just going to feel a lot easier on you because you're not going from 0 to 100 so fast. You're not burning yourself out. If you try to run 15 to 20 miles immediately without having run in however long, you're probably going to get burnt out, guys. I can promise you that. So bottom line, what we're focusing on here is just take things slow and don't jump into it full force. But anyway, focus on positives. That's what I want to do. I want to focus on positives in my life, and I want to focus on things that are going to make me money with my free time as opposed to other things that maybe are kind of time fillers or different things like that. Now, the third lesson we've learned financially in 2020 is that you need to have a second income source. All right, guys? So millions and millions and millions of people have filed for unemployment this year. You can go look it up if you're not up to date with this. You don't follow the job reports, the monthly job reports, the weekly job reports. If you don't follow any of those, you can go look it up, but trust me, millions have filed for unemployment, okay? And I guarantee you some of those people that have filed for unemployment, they thought their job was safe. There's no way they can lose their job. They're in a union. Oh, they can never lose their job. They're in a union. Oh, this job's so safe. This company can't run without me. Guess what? I guarantee you a lot of those people filed for unemployment, guys, okay? I guarantee you there's a lot on that list that filed for unemployment, okay? So many people, they live off one income source. One income source. They have their job and that's it. They don't invest anything. They don't look for other opportunities. They don't look for side hustles. They don't do anything. They have that one income source and the rest of the time they're doing whatever with their time. I don't know what they're doing. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but me, I just like to have multiple income sources in case something goes wrong. And if nothing goes wrong, everything else is a bonus, right? Keep that in mind. That's why I like to think worst case scenario and be prepared for everything. But anyway, like I just said, people have one income source. What happens if they lose that income source? What happens if they get laid off? What happens if there's budget cuts? What happens if they get furloughed? What happens? Guess what happened, guys? Most of the time, they're screwed. They're screwed because they don't have any income. There's no money coming in. They can't pay the mortgage. They can't pay car insurance. They can't pay the bills. They can't pay for their Netflix subscription. They can't pay for any of these things, guys, because they only have one income source and that income source is cut off and there's no money coming in. So, do you have to have 20, 30, 40 income sources in your life? No, you don't have to have 20 or 30 or 40 income sources. You don't. I mean, if you do, fantastic, great for you. You're probably very diversified and you're probably going to be set up very well in the future. But can you have 2 income sources? Yes, guys, you can have 2 income sources. And I've mentioned this before on the channel in the past, but it's so important to just not rely on one source of income because you never, ever, ever know what's going to happen. And it's so easy to create a second income source. You can start a side hustle. You can pick up a second job. You can just invest in stocks, real estate. You can get some cash flow from rental properties. There's so many different ways to create a second income source. And in theory, you can really start it today, okay? And for all you guys watching this, I want to know, let me know down in the comments, how come you don't have a second income source if you're someone that only has one income source? Is it because you don't know how? Is it because maybe you don't know enough about stocks and real estate? Or maybe you don't want to have the time for another job because you have family and other obligations? Let me know down in the comments why you don't have a second income source and why you don't start one. I'd really like to hear that. I really would. And the last lesson we're going to talk about that was learned financially in 2020 is that, and this is probably going to break a lot of you guys' hearts that just got in the market recently, is that stocks don't always go up. So late 2019, early 2020, I felt like a lot of investors became complacent. And why did they become complacent? It's because it just seemed like stocks would only go up. There would be essentially weeks where there'd be no red days. Sometimes there'd be 8 or 9 or 10 trading days where it was just all green across the board. And that's honestly not realistic. Stocks don't always go up. As we found out in March, stocks do go down eventually. It seems like they're only going up now, but trust me, there will be more dips in the market one day. What day? I'm not exactly sure, but there will be more dips in the market one day. And what you have to remember is stocks are volatile, okay? You've got to remember that the stock market's open the majority of days out of the year. You know, I'm not exactly sure how many trading days there are off the top of my head, but the market's open most days, okay? There's going to be times the market's up 10%. There's going to be times the market's down 10% over a certain period of time. There's going to be times that the market's flat for a week. There's going to be all these different periods of time that you have to adapt to and get used to and understand how to operate in different situations like that, okay? And what you ultimately have to do is you have to be prepared. And what do you have to be prepared for? Like all those things we just talked about, you have to be prepared. You've got to have cash ready to deploy at any certain circumstance. You've got to be ready to pull money out if you need money for something else. You have to be prepared for every single scenario that you can be prepared for. So, like we just said, stocks won't always go up, so what does that mean? First, it means, like I just said, you have to take advantage of any opportunity you see, okay? Now, a lot of stocks right now, a lot of valuations, in my opinion, they're very rich. There's not a lot of companies that interest me right now because it just seems like a lot of them are overvalued and a lot of those valuations are really, really rich. So I'm not buying a ton of new stocks for now. There's not a ton of stocks that I'm overly interested in right now. Don't get me wrong, I'm always researching stocks, I'm always looking into companies, because what happens if the market drops 20%? What happens if the stocks go down 20%? Then all of a sudden that changes everything, you know? I'm in a position of power, like we talked about. That's very important to be in a position of power. I'm in a position of power with cash on the sideline. I can put that money into great companies that's gonna make me money over the next 5 or 10 years or whatever, however long the case may be. I can buy more assets at fair value or undervalue that are just going to perform great for me in the future. That's the first thing you got to keep in mind. The second thing you got to keep in mind, the second thing you got to be prepared for is your risk tolerance. So what do I mean by that? And I talked about this on the channel before, but let's say you have $10,000 invested in stocks, right? And that's all of your money. That's you have $10,000 to your name and you invest the entire thing. Well, what happens if the market drops 20%? That $2,000 is a pretty significant portion of your savings, of your net worth. And it might not be the best feeling in the world to see that money go down 20%, all right, guys? So maybe like say you invest $1,000 out of that $10,000 and then the rest of that money goes down 20%. That $1,000 that is, that $1,000 goes down 20%. You might not be, inclined to panic sell or do anything wrong out of those things. You might just feel comfortable. You might feel okay with just leaving that money in there and just letting it ride and have that money make you more money over time. But if you have too much money invested and your risk tolerance isn't set in stone and you just don't feel comfortable with the amount of money you're playing with in the stock market, that can be a dangerous game, guys. That can lead to things like not being polite to people that you really care about. It can lead to too much unnecessary stress. You don't want to get to that point, guys. I've been to that point. It's not a good point. It's changed my life for the worse, and now I'm at I know my risk tolerance. I know exactly how to deal with it, and I'm completely okay with how I do it. I understand my strategies, and I'm very proud I've come to this point today, and I would recommend to you guys to try to do the same exact thing, because honestly, it's just going to benefit you in so many different ways, and it's going to change your future in ways you can't even imagine, trust me. But as always, all these things we talk about in this video, I am no financial advisor at all, so make sure you're doing your own research, your own due diligence, and make sure you are creating your own opinions, because if you want to be successful in the stock market, you have to create your own opinions, you have to know what to look for, you have to understand your strategies, and you basically have to just do you. That's the bottom line. Anyway, in saying that, guys, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you don't mind dropping a like on the video, that really does help me out in a massive, massive way, and it only takes a second of your time. I'm not receiving any money for this video, so that can be my compensation for this video. I would love if you paid me in the form of a like button. If you did enjoy this content, also don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because we are going to be putting out more videos like this. And actually, I don't know if we're gonna have a video on Friday this week because it is Christmas. So if you don't see a video on Friday from me, you will see it Saturday at some point, probably Saturday morning, mid-afternoon, somewhere in that time. But if you don't see a video by like mid-afternoon on Friday, then it's gonna be up on Saturday. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, Merry Christmas to all and have a good day.